I am a 30-year-old man living in New Mexico. I had just moved into a big house in the middle of nowhere. We'd had to move as my wife cheated and divorced me. They'd stay at their mum's through the week, meaning they could attend the same schools. I loved living far from the closest town. It was peaceful and quiet and helped me get over the divorce. This house was great. There was plenty of space and I had my own freedom again. It took some time to unpack everything, and when it was done, I made a cuppa and watched some TV. I started to fall asleep. A big bang woke me up again. It was my back door, moving with the heavy wind outside. I ensured all of the doors and windows were closed and went upstairs. Upon entering my bedroom, I noted it was 2:36 a.m. After looking at the clock, I hear a whisper, but nobody else was home as it was a weeknight. I put it down to stress and eventually fell asleep when nothing else happened. Random stuff started to happen over the next few days. The wind would sound like tortured screams. Doors that I'd locked would unlock and start swinging open. Then I heard a big crash in the attic. I hadn't even noticed we had an attic up until this point. I climbed the ladders and looked into the attic. There were smashed cups and plates, but they couldn't have fallen off anything, as it was literally empty. I cleaned it up and locked the hatch, hoping that nothing else would happen as my daughters were coming at the weekend. I decided to grab some sage from the closest town and used it throughout the entire house in hopes that it would eradicate the bad energy. It seemed to do the job for the next few weeks, and my girls enjoyed my new home. Mia was 4 and Delilah was 8. It wasn't long until the locked doors unlocked and swung open. I decided to use the sage again, but it made things worse than before. I wanted to move out and move somewhere less deserted. I found a house which was in a lovely town, then informed my girls that I'd be moving again, so they stayed over one last time. It was a weird night. I watched a movie with my girls and tucked them into bed afterwards. I headed back downstairs and switched to a different channel. I heard Mia whisper, "Daddy," and I asked why she was out of bed, but she was in a daze and just walked into the dark kitchen. I followed behind her. That's when I heard screaming. I ran upstairs, but Delilah was fast asleep. Mia is screaming now. As I get to the kitchen, I see that her mouth is hanging open and her eyes are wide. She's just standing there screaming. The cupboard doors flee open and started slamming shut. Everything just stopped, and my daughter ran off to bed. I got to her room and she was already in bed, sleeping, as though she'd been there the whole time. I stayed awake that entire night. I just wanted to get out of this house. In the morning, I asked Mia if she could remember anything about last night. She said she couldn't, so I just said, "Ignore me," and made out that it was a bad dream I'd had. After I'd moved out of the house, I decided to research the history of that house, and it turns out it had been built over an old graveyard in the 1960s. I always do my research now before moving.